Hi everyone. I recently had a question from a customer asking they're trying to build a like an action list of things that need to be completed. So they might be filling it out, making a bunch of actions, and every action needs to be ticked off as completed before they submit. So there's three different ways you can solve this, ranging in very simple to reasonably complex. So you've got a simple control of name, email, and then you've got a repeating section, and within you've got your action and a toggle which is completed or not. So the first option you could do is you could just come into requires selection and turn that on. That's really simple. So you come to preview, and then so if I do a couple of rows, building all my actions out, and I've completed two of them, but the middle one I haven't completed, I go to press submit. It's going to say this field is required to be checked. Now you can actually change that message as well. So you could say something like, please complete this action. Coming back to preview and add a bunch more. We go completed, completed, forgot that one, press submit, and it's going to say please complete this action. Now, that's a very, very simple and easy way of doing it. And so you might be asking, well, how is this going to work? Well, someone might be completing all these actions through here and they might press save and continue, and they don't have to actually complete this until they press submit. So that's how that kind of works. So, and then once they've pressed all completed, press submit, it goes through fine. So that's a quick and easy way of making sure all those actions are completed. Now the second way is a little bit more complicated. So we're just going to turn this require selection off. The second way is through rules. So what we can do here is go to rules, go to submit rules, not form rules, but submit rules. Click on add, and we select the repeating section called corrective actions. And we're going to say, what should we call this? Check if action is completed. And so we say if completed is no, then we want to show a completed message, show validation message. Please complete this action. So we go and create that rule. Back to preview we go. So we add one, add another one, complete, complete, press submit, and it's going to say please complete this action. So again, pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Now, some people might ask, why would I do this? Why would I do the rules one when the config panel one is so much easier? Well, that really depends on your requirements, but you might say something like if it's as simple as this, probably just use it straight onto the toggle. If you want to say something like if completed is no and the email contains UN or something like that, you've got some more advanced conditions, then you probably do it through a rule. Okay, so that's the second way. We'll delete that one. And the third way gets slightly more complicated again. Again, it's a submit rule because we want to make sure that when you press submit, not save and continue, but submit, that all your actions are completed. So again, we're going to call this, well, it's a little bit different. This is going to check if all of the actions are complete. Check if all actions are complete. So then we're at the form level, we're not at the repeating section level. So if I change that to repeating section level, I get access to all the controls within the repeating section, action and completed, plus the ones at the form level. If I go back to the form level, I can only see things on the form. And that's fine because I can select the insert button here. And what we can do is we can say, well, if I type completed, what you'll notice is completed is the toggle, it's the yes, no. And when we're looking at that, from the form into the repeating section, it's actually a collection. It's an array of yes and no's, well, true and falses basically. So we're going to grab that, and what we want to do is to check if any of them have false. So what we can do is we can say contains, and we'll do that, and we'll say contains, and I think it's false like that, and like that. And so what this is going to do, I've made a bit of a mistake, and so this is an array, and it doesn't really work on an array. It knows strings as it's saying here, so we need to do something else. We need to say convert to string. Convert to string, close that off, and we close our bracket. And then so what we're doing here is, oh, I've got another error here. What have I done wrong? Closed at the wrong place, and there we go. So what I'm now doing is saying convert to string, that array, and we might just neat that up a bit more. That so you can see that. So you got convert to string. Actually, that makes it a little bit harder to read. Let's just do that. And so we convert the array to a string, and then we want to check if it contains the word false in it. Now, if it contains the word false, it's going to return true to say that not all the checkboxes are checked. Now, that's kind of confusing. So you've got two options here. Either you could say, you could either say put it in a not. So what that does is inverses a boolean. So if it's returns true because the array contains a false, it's going to return true. Really, we wanted to say false. It's not correct. So you could do a not. Or you could do an if else. So if you're still paying attention here, because it is kind of confusing, you could say if else, and you'd say if else. So if else. Let me think about this. So what we're saying is it contains. What we want to do is we're going to say if else, and we're going to say get rid of that. We'll put it at the end. That's for the stuff for us to work out in a sec. And we're going to say if this equals true, the response of true, no, true, then we want to return that as false. So we're really inversing it, or we're returning it as true. Now, if you're not confused by now, I'm very surprised. You can write a comment in the comment section below and tell me that you're not confused. So this, as I said, it sort of progresses. You've got the control level where you can say it's mandatory. You could build a submit rule just on the control inside the repeating section, or you could have a rule outside of the repeating section to check if any of those checkboxes are false, and then we have a formula in here. So we're doing a lot of trues and falses in here, so it's a little bit confusing. Once we insert that, what happens is this response knows that it's going to give me a true or a false response. I could do something else. I could say something like, is the response correct or incorrect, or whatever you wanted to do, but that's a little bit for another topic. So we're going to say is, are all the checkboxes, if all the actions are complete, and it's no, which makes it easier to read, then we're going to say corrective actions, repeating section, show validation message is please complete all tasks. Okay, so we go and create a rule. Now we go back to preview, and I won't bother putting my email, those sort of things in. Add a row, completed. Now hopefully this works after all this. Press submit, and please complete all tasks. So just to recap, this is quite a complex thing, and I've just called this, where is it, the rule. I've got a variable sticking around for some reason. So what was happening here was we've got the array of the true falses, and what we're doing is we're saying we'll convert that array to a string. Then we're saying does any of those, anything in that array contain a false? So if anything hasn't been checked or completed, then we want to know about that. And then that's going to return, if any of them are not checked, it's going to say yes, I found something that's not checked, and that means it's come back as true, which means not everything's been completed, which is true. Then what I've done is I've said, well, if it does come back as true, switch them around. Now we could actually do it much simpler than that. We could just say, like I showed before, we get rid of that. We could say not, and we'll switch that around, and you'll see it still works. So update, and update the rule. Go to preview, and we'll put a couple of tasks in here. I've completed this one, press submit. Again, still works. So I think now that's 4 different ways you could solve this problem, and you could use a combination of these as well. So you could also say turn this on, make this required yes, and when you come through to here and you add a few tasks, press save and continue, nothing happens, click on these, press submit, and there's a whole bunch of errors for you. So I hope that's helpful to you. Let me know in the comments if you were not confused, or were confused, true or false, and or if this is helpful to you. Cheers.